Hello, everyone. Jacquie Edwards here. Happy Wednesday on this beautiful August day. I am super excited because it's less than a month from today that I am heading to the US for my wedding and my honeymoon. So, super excited. Yeah, you've only got a little bit longer with me, and then I will be kind of closing down and heading off into holiday mode. So, for now, for those of you that aren't already in holiday mode for this beautiful August, I wanted to talk about joint ventures and partnerships. Sorry, my lighting seems to be going in and out here a little bit depending on how much I move. Sorry about that. So you'll have to deal with that a little bit. So today we are going to talk about joint ventures and kind of partnerships in your rent-to-rent business. I've been getting lots of questions about this lately, so I just wanted to give you some of my ideas on kind of the best ways to structure your joint ventures or your partnerships when you're working on your rent-to-rent business. Now, I know a lot of people love to jump in to kind of 50-50 profit shares or 50-50 partnerships, and that's a lot of what's talked about when people talk about joint ventures, is they're talking about kind of profit shares and kind of share schemes for joint ventures, kind of like setting companies up together and all of those things. Now, I think that has a place in the kind of investment world here in our property business, but I think that's a really advanced strategy or a really advanced method of raising funds for your business. I think that to start with, we should start a lot more simply and build up our relationships. Now, if you've got, a life partner or a family member that you've got a long-standing, really good relationship with, or somebody that you've been working together, maybe in another business for a number of years, and you know how you guys work together, and you've already got a really great relationship, and you're really good together already, then it can be fine to kind of jump straight into a 50-50 joint venture. So that's what I did when I got started. So when I started my business, I basically had time. So I wanted to get out of my I wanted to get out of my accounting world and, start getting my own cash flow from something else. So I had the time to get started on this business, but I didn't have a lot of funds. So I needed my funds to basically to live on. So I didn't have the money to kind of get started. But my boyfriend, my relationship partner, he did have the funds. So we formed a 50-50 partnership. We have a limited company together, and we're both 50-50 shareholders. But that is because we already had the relationship, and we set up the business structure to kind of mimic that. So he brought the funds into the joint venture, and we were able to structure it so that I spent my time and got the knowledge to build the business, and he's more of like a silent partner, or we do meet monthly to kind of go through how things are going, but he hasn't seen most of the properties. And I think that's important when you're setting up any kind of partnership, is understanding who's going to do what. We did struggle with this a little bit in the beginning, where we were both super excited to get started, and we both wanted to, find the properties and do everything, but I found it really difficult because we were both trying to do the same things at the same time and duplicating efforts, when the best way to work with a partner is to kind of to split the effort. So you're doing what you're really good at, they're doing what they're really good at, and you're building that business together and not duplicating the efforts. But again, the whole sharing, profit sharing is I think more of an advanced strategy, and unless you're already really close with that person, I don't think that's the right way that you should be going in your business. I think that you should start more slowly. So if you've got somebody that's interested in investing in your business, or somebody that wants to work with you, then I think you can say, look, maybe in the future we can work on a profit share or set up a company together. But first, let's find out if we enjoy working together, and that if we can build a long-term relationship together. Another thing to be careful of is if you do set up a business with somebody, so if you set up a limited company with somebody and you're both kind of shareholders and directors, you are basically linked forever to that person. So, sorry, I've got a fly flying around. You are financially linked with that person forever. So even if you shut down that limited company in the future, there still are those records that are available to the public that link your names together. So if anybody wants to do due diligence on you in the future. They're going to look you up and say, oh, that person used to manage ABC Limited. Oh, Joe Smith was a partner at ABC Limited. They must be friends. Oh, look, Joe Smith is a bankrupt and a fraudster. We don't want to work with Sally now because she and John used to be partners and she's probably a fraudster too. So again, that's why unless you know the other party really, really well and you've got a strong relationship built on trust, go slowly when linking together into a limited company or setting up joint bank accounts together, because again, you're going to be financially linked forever. So if you set up joint bank accounts together and that other person goes bankrupt or does something really horrible in the future, and your credit is going to be tarnished by that other person's actions. So be very careful jumping in to the deep end like that. Instead, what I recommend doing is just a simple loan. So again, when I got started, one of the things we did to learn was we invested in another more experienced investor's company. So we gave him just a simple loan of cash. We had a straight loan agreement that said he would pay us X amount interest every single month. And then at the end of 3 years, we could get our cash back. Done. And we had no say in how his business was run. We had no say in where exactly that money went. We had no charge on any of his properties. It was just a business loan. We got to shadow him and learn a bit more about the property world, and we got to get an interest rate at the same time. He got the money for his business that he needed, and he didn't have to, give us shares, take our advice on what we thought needed to happen in the business. It just kept things really simple for us to kind of go forward with. And that's how I've set up any of the or most of the loans in my business going forward. So any of the investors that we've taken on have been basically simple interest loans only. Some of them are just, we pay X% interest every year and then agree to pay the capital back at some point in the future. My rent to rent ones tend to be, we pay interest and capital back. So say I borrow £10,000 at 5% interest. So we'll pay whatever it is, £300 every month over 2 years. And then at the end of that 2 years, all of our interest and all of our capital has been returned. It might be £500 a month, whatever the maths are. Apparently I didn't keep it simple enough. But we'll pay interest plus capital so that by the end of that 2 years, all of the investor has all of their money plus their interest back. They're completely paid out of the loan, and the rest of the deal is kind of pure profit for us. I like to do that with rent to rents because, again, you can't sell the property or remortgage it to pull money out at the end. So you have to make sure you're paying the capital of the loan back over time. And this way, I think you can test people before getting into like a more complicated relationship with them. So you can say, all right, let's do a quick loan. We can reassess in 6 to 12 months, see where we're at, see if we enjoy working together, see if this is something we both want to pursue in the long term. And then we can talk about, how we can work together in more detail in the future. Whereas so many people just jump into the whole profit share thing. And again, it just gets so much more complicated because then you have to think, all right, well, what does profit share mean? What does profit mean? And that means you have to open up your books completely to that other person. Does profit share, include part of your time? Why have you chosen 50-50 profit share? Do you both feel like you're making a 50% contribution? Most of the time, you're probably not. It's more like 60-40, 70-30. Maybe you've got 3 partners and you're all doing slightly different things. And, how do you value somebody's money over somebody else's time? So it just, it makes things more complicated. And then as time goes on, if you've got a 50-50 partnership and one person's put all the money in but spends no time on it, and the other person's working, 60 hours a week, they might start to feel like, oh, this isn't really very fair. Why are we 50-50 when, that other person only paid £5,000 and now they've buggered off and done nothing, but I'm doing all the work and all the effort and I'm only getting 50% of the profits. So make sure you've really, really thought it through. And also, what happens when you're making a loss? Is it a 50-50 profit share of any losses? And how, and working out exactly how you're defining what the profit is. So it just takes a lot more steps to do that profit share type of thing. And I feel like it can lead to more problems in a relationship, especially if you start off with that before you've got a kind of a trusting relationship. already and before you've worked together before. So if you've worked together before and have a great relationship, then you can look at doing a profit share. If you haven't, then I'd start out as a simple joint venture, interest only. One person pays in the money, the other person should be spending their time. Now, if neither of you have money, maybe again you just kind of work up teaming in like an informal partnership. You can still have a contract, you should still have something that outlines how your partnership works, but you don't need to have like a formal company and a formal limited company. You don't have to have joint bank accounts. You can just make sure you've set up, here's what so and so is going to do, here's what the other person's going to do, here's how you see the business going forward in the future, here's how you're going to kind of work on deals that you found. And then again, if you find that you don't like working together, it's a lot easier to just say, all right, sorry, that didn't work out. Let's go our separate ways. And there doesn't have to be like a big, huge fallout and a big splitting of assets. And because coming into a limited company and into a formal partnership together, it's like getting married. And if you have to divorce and split all of your assets and figure all that stuff out, it's just a big hassle you don't want to deal with. So make sure you move slowly into that relationship and you build it up in a way that can allow you to build trust. Make sure you've got value matches going forward. Make sure you both, understand and feel comfortable with the way the business is moving together, that how you're working together before you jump into like a super formal, super complicated relationship. So those are my thoughts on joint ventures and joint venture relationships. I hope you found that useful because I know a lot of you are either at a place now where you need to get funding and need to get joint ventures on, or you're going to be in that place soon. So keep those tips in mind, move slowly, build up the relationship, and yeah, just enjoy yourself as you go along. So best of luck and have a wonderful day. I will see you next week.